demons, and fellow weird ones, and here we are for another segment of our series. Let's see, Tale Behind the Art. I think that's what I decided. But who knows how many names will come up from it. But we're back to talk more. Today it's going to be all of my self-portraits. The other few episodes I talked about different photographers I've worked with. Few and far between. There are some photographers I did not mention. I do not have the projects and all the above. But they are all self-portraits that I've taken and my own creative spin. I shot the photos or videos or however I did it, and all of the above, and just kind of sat with my vision of things and all of the inspirations I took from artists that I've worked with before, and where I kind of got sick of, I guess, waiting for other people to meet me creatively, or just, I don't know, like there was poor collaboration at some moments in my like photography and like modeling art career of sorts. And I don't know, I started taking matters in my own hands and rolling with it. And so we're gonna get into it. All right. Okay, where are we gonna start? I didn't start recording, didn't I? I did. Okay. I don't know if that will ever go away. Maybe if I get like a producer or something, you know. If I continue to do this by myself, it'll happen for the rest of my life. Okay. So we're gonna start with Rouge. Um this was something so where do I start? What did I call this? I called this the Asylum Boudoir set. So this was before. This is before my Asylum wheelchair and Immortal. So the collection is called Immortal, but the stuff that I did with Savannah, I talked about an Asylum wheelchair that I had a few photos in, which has like an inside joke with Savannah and I from when I broke my ankle. However, this was back in my apartment in Livonia. This is this is before I met my husband. This was when I started. So I lost most of my friends at the end of 2019 for a lot of these things that I was pursuing. There's a lot of judgment. In fact, one of the comments one of my friends made was, "Imagine selling your body for 4 likes." Because I was just getting started and I didn't have as big of a following as her. And she's the one, again, she told me to do OnlyFans to promote my work because I did have this sensual, sexy boudoir essence that I liked remaining in that spectrum of things. I have a full spectrum, but there's a lot of projects that I have that really target and highlight feminine sensuality that I feel like has been deeply suppressed in our collective for a variety of reasons. I firmly believe in like women empowerment and just human empowerment to get over this purity culture because we're born naked. These photos aren't nude, but they're definitely like sexy. I had so what started it is I did take a nude, for someone I was dating, and I used a candle and had the candle light, and it just, the way that hit the shadows and the light and everything hit my body within, like how the bathroom is a bathroom, like somewhat mirror selfie thing. It was just, I don't know, it was just a quick little thing that I did trying to be flirty and fun with the man I was dating. And it inspired this whole piece because I was like, oh my gosh, this like red dim lighting, because it was like black everywhere. It was just candlelight. And I don't know, the shadow work was just like beautiful. I really like that dark divine feminine, and was thinking of Baby from Rob Zombie, Sherry Moon Zombie, all of her characters, and just that like psycho sex goddess, which, you know, what I feel like is part of like Harley Quinn. I would argue, I mean, Harley Quinn's Harley Quinn for the comics in her own right, but I would argue that Baby and Sherry Moon Zombie inspired Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Would have to. If she didn't, someone needs to rewrite history a little bit, because I see it and I think it's perfect. And so I kind of had this idea. I did Living Dead Girl. I did Living Dead Girl and House of a Thousand Corpses, like as songs for this collection, like, especially when I posted it on Instagram, when I was sharing it on OnlyFans that I no longer have. And that whole situation, I want to clarify for those who care. I only had OnlyFans, I don't think it was more than 6 months. I want to say it was like 4 months, but it could have been up to 6. I'm kind of fuzzy on exactly when I started it because I had contemplated it for a while, for like almost a year. I had multiple people who told me to do it, but I didn't trust those people. So then when someone I trusted told me she was thinking of doing it and that she think like I could do it or whatever, I went with it. I've kind of reflected upon in my creative endeavors and collaborating with friends, girlfriends, and all of the above is I am serious. I pulled the trigger and I tried things out and, I burn in the blades of glory, I guess. In the flames of glory, blades of glory, whatever. Doesn't matter. And so when she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing it," and I was like, "Oh, like maybe you should do it too." I went for it. She hesitated, maybe for good reason. She hesitated. Maybe I need to hesitate more, but that seems to be a problem area that I've noticed is I will get an idea and I run it and I will leave people behind, or I'll do it for myself. Doesn't mean I want to take it away from them. Like they can do it for themselves in their own way, but I'm gonna roll with it. And that was something that had like added into this collection, not only because of the inspiration going through it, but what I was dealing with when it was released, the criticism I received from it, and all of the above. And I was just like, I know a woman in red, like you think of that like Lilith energy, you think of that the divine feminine, the dark divine feminine. And so all of this being like in red and kind of haunting, and how my bathroom looked with the really, white tile, it kind of looked spooky. Like my apartment in Livonia was like, I would argue it was very nice for an apartment off of 8 Mile. It's called luxury living, and I thought I was living in luxury. It wasn't, like I have high ceilings now. I didn't have high ceilings that apartment, but it was 1,000 square feet. It was a decent sized apartment. My only critique was cheap kitchen appliances and a small, cheap, grimy bathroom. But anyway, the grime from the bathroom, perfect, absolutely perfect for this shoot. And like I even left the towel hanging in the background. I like breaking the fourth wall in that way. But yeah, it's meant to be seductive, and enticing and kind of psychotic. And then so it goes from the bathroom with all of this red into more of those candle themes that I talked about with similar candles. On occasion back then, I always got Dollar Tree pillar candles. I burned so many of them. It was just the most cost effective way. I mean, I'll go through so many in a week just because I have them lit all day, every day. And I do have some now, arguably not a clean burn. The magic's all the same. And I like the look. It's funny enough, I think I mentioned this when I made my own, I hated them. There is not just about the Dollar Tree, but something about things that you don't make yourself. Sometimes it just feels nice. But anyway. So then I segue into like my room where I kept things dark, and I had like a real cream bedspread and my black bed frame and everything that you can kind of see in the background. But I have all the candles lit. And then so it's kind of like, I don't know, you spooky, creepy, psychotic girl that you meet in this really interesting place drags you to her bedroom, but she seduces you, right? Like, so there's like that element of you found, like, I don't know, you could also envision it like a horror movie. So you find this like, it's like a woman in white, even though I'm a woman in red. But this, the myth of the woman in white. And so it's a really gorgeous woman, usually on the side of the road, and she's wearing white, and men can't help but stop to save her, and blah blah blah. She ends up murdering them. There is a supernatural reference there, but I also do believe that there's actual mythology to that. Don't quote me on it. I know it from Supernatural, and I took it as gospel. Because why would they lie about that? There's all these other truths that I know is true. That one has to be true too. So anyway, I just kind of picture this like woman in red that you find in a really creepy place like this, maybe broken down, grimy looking bathroom scene. And then you want to save her, and or maybe she seduces you, and then she takes you into, and it's kind of haunting because it just shifts from this bathroom to this like fairly elegant bedroom set. And I like the shift of it because it kind of adds into that illusionary thing. I don't know, that like time lapse. It just like merges like in movies, how it cuts a scene and you're like, well, okay, how did they get from there to there? But it just seemed like it all meshed together. So that's what I like about it, is it all meshes together. And then you have the like bright, you see the bright red lit that is maybe not as obvious in some of the red pictures, that matches in with the lingerie, the corset, and the sheer tights, the candlelight. What I really love the most about it is, one, how it accents my tattoos, the red that comes in from my tattoos, the the lover's essence, but in like a really dark romantic kind of way. That, yeah, very seductive. One of my favorite shoots. I think it's absolutely elegant. It does remind me of I would say Cancer or Scorpio essence. You can see some Leo, but there is that more siren, which I guess, Pisces could be. But when I picture Pisces, I don't picture red. I picture more of a seductive purple or teal blue. The more stereotype, like more like as tropical side of things. Sure. Yeah, Scorpio has like a kind of a full spectrum of colors. There is like the red element that you could get into, but then there's like the greens and the earth tones that can become quite seductive with Scorpio. That's where you get like Shigo and like really dark, alternative, like sexy. Where this has like a Alana S, which she was Scorpio rising, Cancer Sun, so you can kind of see that in there. But I wanted to incorporate a lot of that, and I wanted to incorporate some darkness. Like there's me grabbing my own throat and things like that, which could insinuate a lot of different things. But I wanted it to have a dark element while also being seductive. To be a product of my generation, but think of A Little Piece of Heaven from Avenged Sevenfold, even Scream from Avenged Sevenfold in their White Album. That was a big part of my middle school years. And so then you add in that Rob Zombie essence to kind of merge it, and then so Avenged Sevenfold, Rob Zombie, Lana Del Rey in a collaboration that I created for what it's worth. But I love it. I think it's super fun. It's one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorite shoots that I've ever done. And I'd love to do something like that again, and then just like maybe expand on it, especially with more, I don't know, symbolism in the background. Scenery, I think is the word that I really want. I could ruin it and tell people their idea, but I'm gonna keep it to myself, of what I would like to have similar outfits and poses with, like, what I would prefer to have in the background. But this was wasn't quite around lockdown. This was in February, so it's also still really leaning into February, to Valentine's Day, and Lucalia, and all of that, like, just sassy essence. Very, very Lupercalia. Not so much Valentine's Day, but definitely Lupercalia. And I think that is so fun. So yeah, this one's called Rouge, and this one I did 2020. It was one of my first, like, okay, if I'm gonna take if I'm gonna take the reins on this, where am I gonna go? Because I was really stuck. Like, I did some stuff myself, but I got stuck for a while, and I had to find a photographer. I couldn't do both. And then, that's how Savannah also inspired me after, like, working with her, is she does a lot of her own self-portraits, and she always looks so like beautiful and sexy and fun and creepy and all the things that she wants to create. And she just goes for it. So I really appreciated that inspiration. And I wanted to do that for myself in my own way with my own aesthetic. Because I would argue, as similar as Silvana and I could be, we are also different spectrums, which, to repeat from what I was talking about in the other videos, I think that's what added some division in me and that community, because I haven't found, I hate this sounds so queer and obnoxious of me, but I haven't really found a place where I fit in or belong. Like, I feel so niche all the time that there's people who relate to parts of me, but I really don't know anyone who relates to me entirely. Even my husband, I would argue, he relates to me more than anybody, but I think he mostly just embraces it. He found something unique and wild and free, and he's just happy that he gets to experience and witness this beauty. Because, I mean, he's, like I've mentioned before, he's a flower guy. He knows so much about plants. He's such a huge green thumb. But about flowers, he understands how to preserve them. And as I talked about my wilted roses poem and that like anthology, Tail Behind the Tail breakdown, the earth sign got to work and he tended to me as his garden. And I mean, the work speaks for itself. He has helped me transform in so many ways, and not by actively doing anything except protecting me and giving me space to be myself. So I think that that's huge. And that ties into what I was really wanting when I was starting all of this. But there were so many people in my environment that were poisoning my soil. And so I had to be uprooted. It was like my husband saw that and he uprooted me and he's like, no, we have to put you in a pot for a little bit and we have to keep you safe, and you know, we'll keep adapting as we need to, but we got we got to keep you safe from all of these psychos. Um, and that's what will happen. But to segue into my next project, I'm gonna kind of double up on some of these. I think that will help me get through a lot of them. There's 23, 9, half, don't want to do it. So now I'm gonna go to, I'm not gonna say this. I don't want that one. Oh, I want this. Oh, okay. I literally did that. I brought up Living Dead Girl, be forgetting, and I don't know. The sequence of the order my brain is trying to keep all of this. Slow down, breathe. I work too fast, and then it gets chaos. So think of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, conspiracy theory, Jiffy, my brain at all times. So sometimes I can't even keep up with myself. Anyway, so we talked about Rouge, and then move into Living Dead Girl, which did I do this the same day? This could have been done a couple days later or before. Could have done this one first and then did Rouge, because my hair looks a little bit lighter in Rouge. And I think that's kind of what, so I had like the dark cherry, mahogany red hair. And then I was moving to copper pumpkin hair. So I think this one, because my hair is deeply red in this one. But this one has like another, like, it's more like a sexy vampire kind of vibe to it. But I also feel like I look dead. Like, I try to look dead a lot. So I have like really pale skin. I edited my skin to be even more pale than already was. I would argue in Michigan, I was very pale. I think I've gotten some color back on my skin on my face since being in Tennessee. In New Mexico, I mean, between the sun and the fact that I actively tanned, because it's cool to be tan. I wasn't as white as I can be. I was more olive in New Mexico, and then in Michigan, I mean, there's no sun in that place, like fucking ever. Like 1 month out of the year, you get some sun, and my body couldn't absorb it enough to have any type of color, so I was really pale. But that's why I did like really dark makeup, like a deep, deep, deep red lipstick, and then like really dark eyes, and then like the black clothes. And I was around my couch, and I had sliding glass door, and I wanted just like a peak of light, but I really wanted the light to add into a level of silhouette. Like this was completely experimental. I was kind of just really that's when I was really learning lighting. So the Rouge shoot and this Living Dead Girl shoot, they all happened around the same time. And the Rouge shoot was inspired by lighting that I figured out through candlelight. And then this one was completely experimental, trying to find the right lighting in my apartment, which had really weird lighting because of how it faced the courtyard and just the way it was set up. And I hadn't invested in any lighting outside of my camera flash, which was another criticism that I got, is, I need to figure out lighting. I like obscure lighting. I like moody lighting. I don't like big bright lights, but I understand the purpose of them. But usually they give me a headache. So anyway, I was messing with this, and I was also inspired from the Galentine's shoot that I just had with Silvana in a lot of different ways. But I didn't have a real human skull. I do now, but I didn't. And so I had my I think it was like resin carved Celtic knot skull that I really appreciated and enjoyed. I think there was a lot of purpose into that. I don't like everything needing to be real, but at the same time, I have this pressure that I'm gonna use a skull. I want it to be a real skull. Uh, or I want it to be as lifelike as possible. Get really upset. Something I get upset about, like Spirit Halloween, is I always get so excited every year, like, oh, I'm gonna decorate, and then I get upset with like the cheesiness of it. And then my tattoo artist, Steve Pelkey, he fully fucks with like the cheesiness of it. Very much like B horror. And I get it, like that vibe, I understand that vibe. I love it. It's very Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like there's a lot of 80s slasher, campy B horror, like special effects. And I like that in certain elements, but there are certain times, like in this shoot, I really wanted to be in a cave in the woods with real skulls and melted candles, and I had a much brighter vision for it that was completely out of my budget or proximity to anything to have that, but I really wanted, and that was just the essence that I wanted when I was doing it. Um, Oh, and so for people who saw my David Bowie red velvet jacket outfit, that sexy, sassy, lacy bralette is in the same shoot. I absolutely love it. I love the halter, I love the keyhole. It shows off my rose tattoo beautifully. But yeah, I was experimenting with a lot of different things, and kind of trying to I was trying to figure out how I wanted to pose to create the mood, and then I also was still trying to please I was trying to please certain audiences, which a lot of it was men, because a lot of that was, men are paying for your OnlyFans, and so this is what people want. This is what gets you attention. You notice what photos people like and what photos people don't like, and of course, people like the more subtly explicit, especially when you're posting on like Instagram and stuff. Uh, so yeah, definitely just working with like lighting and posing, trying to figure out how to achieve the mood and essence that I wanted. This one definitely comes across more sexual than it maybe really wanted it to. And certain like cheesy corniness to it. Like I'm posing in front of my altar at a few places. I have it's a mask that I got. What is a masquerade mask? I got it in Spain that had like music notes and a plague doctor masquerade mask. And I really love that mask. I think it's still in Michigan with Todd. But I was just posing, trying to get certain looks. I was really what in my mind, I was really struggling with like the background of things. But then I kind of also like the modernism of it. It definitely targets or highlights 2020 in a modern goth world of a single woman living in an apartment, with like trying to do her own aesthetic. Like I don't know. There's beauty in it, especially when I look back. I loved how my old altar was. There's a lot of pop culture references. I still have not so much on that altar. Pop culture, not really pop culture, but modern culture with modern black metal, but they still have quite a archaic, aesthetic. I'm trying to look like I have some random things over there, but I'm not afraid to incorporate pop culture into my like magic. I think a lot of traditionalists wanted to live a certain way, and while I love a Victorian Gothic era, I love the old side of everything. There is something fun to seeing the this stack of plastic skulls, in a pyramid that when you push the button, it plays a bunch of different, like, 80s songs. Like, I think one of them is "Staying Alive." I think is there a Kansas song? I don't know. They played a couple of songs. I can't remember what songs they played, but it's definitely funny. And then so you see Jason talk about Friday the 13th. So yeah, there's some fun things that I would incorporate into this altar. Didn't look like any altar I saw in New Orleans. Definitely, yeah, because like I said, I think a lot of people try to keep an archaic aesthetic, and I think that for me, when I was really practicing and reflecting upon myself, I realized I've always had an altar, but you wouldn't recognize it because you're expecting an altar to look a certain way. But I was throughout my whole life, my whole childhood, I had various altars that I would constantly set up, and things that my mom didn't do, things that I didn't really see anyone else around me doing. My grandmother, like, people organized stuff and had trinkets or whatever, but I very obviously was setting things up into like, an altar. And I didn't know that at the time because I grew up, like, very sheltered and Christian, and so everything was through, like, this Christian lens, but middle school and high school, I was accused of being a Satanist and a witch for so many reasons, and it just, like, always shocked me until I started to come to the awareness of, like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing," and you can see it in my photography, especially because these are some of my first altars. That's when I was really doing altar work, and the funny thing about these altars that I've been doing is I was doing that before I was calling it an altar, and then what I added to it was more candles, more incense, and conscious offerings that were more specific and traditional than the other offerings I was leaving, intuitively, I suppose. So yeah, so this one's really fun. Like I said, this kind of gives more boudoir. It gives, I don't know. Some photos are great, some are questionable. I don't regret any of it. There is see myself in a certain light in some of the photos, like certain angles that really made me appreciate my body, especially as a woman. Like, because I was bulking. I wasn't my bulkiest, but I had gotten up to, I think, 140 pounds, which was the heaviest I've ever weighed in my life. And getting used to not have like, I had a flat stomach still, but it wasn't like it wasn't a certain thing. Like, when you get into the gym and you're expecting to look a certain way, but then you start looking a different way, in certain angles. I think every woman, like, as you can probably tell, even me sitting, it's like, okay, well, you're sitting, but you still don't want like a pooch. And like, these are all these things that are conditioned into your brain as a woman, as a young girl, as a little girl, you're told all these things. And so to be able to see myself like at a weird angle and like my stomach kind of pooched out, or like very Marilyn Monroe, a lot of her photos, she's not worried about her belly. And that's something that I was also like looking into, is different, beautiful women of different eras that inspired the world and all of these things. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to be skinny. And here's the thing, I was always naturally very thin. But in my mind, I got lost. So there's different waves, right? And it depends on what category you're in. There are women who are naturally thicker and curvier who get fed that they need to be skinny. And then the women who are naturally thin and slender, they get fed into the machine of you need to be thick and curvy. And so I went down, like, I was trying to do everything to be thick and curvy, but do it in a healthy way. Funny enough, all from 110 pounds to 160 pounds, nothing mattered when it came to my boobs. Like, that was one thing I was really wanting, is I was hoping if I gained weight, and not just muscle, but like fat, like, and weight and everything, I would curve out. I got some thick thighs. I had like a really nice fat ass, is what people would say, but like my bra size never changed. Like, not even really around like the width. I mean, I had a pretty cut back. I mean, bras, I like but it just didn't, nothing fit. It made bras even more impossible to fit, which I thought was really interesting. So anyway, that's just some stuff that I remember going through. It's like I remember starting to feel insecure because I wasn't um as slender, which is here's that's the thing. I was getting insecure about a goal that I set for myself. Why? Well, because it wasn't really aligned. And like I'll go into that in one of my moon juice episodes that I keep talking about. Because like modeling and fitness have been deeply intertwined for me. And moving forward in my life and how I want to approach my intention in how I conduct my fitness routines and my creative projects and modeling career and all of the above, um, these reflections are important. So I'm bringing them up, but I also plan on kind of giving a whole enchilada story about it later. So yeah, that's just how I went into it. They're so cheesy, little Dollar Tree gravestones that this one, I don't know. It's there is like an Elvira essence to it. I can see. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting, this shoot. I'm proud of it, but I labeled it Living Dead Girl because it's kind of piggybacking the Rouge set and the inspirations that I was taking from at that time. So Cherry Moon Zombie, Marilyn Monroe, Morticia always, but this one definitely felt a little bit more vampiress. Vampirette. What vaporous works, so that's not the word that I want. I don't actually vampiric, maybe vampiristic. I think I don't know. Uh, yeah. So those two shoots. Those are some of my first self portraits that I started really working on. Like I mentioned, my boudoirs of the ages. There's a few of those photos I did take for myself that were self portraits, but to me, those were with the intention of being boudoir and being like sexy and sensual. Where these, even though they are sexy and sensual, and they were part of this like goth girl vibe that goth girl fantasy that I was branding myself as. So there's all of these different components that I think altered the original creative vision because it's like, well, this is my creative vision. This is what I want. But then these are the factors that are influencing the project. And I don't hate it. I don't regret it. It's just a young mind where you kind of get lost into those things. And I don't want to care about those influencing factors anymore. I just want, which I've been doing as we get into it, just rolling with all of it and moving away from being sexy for the sake of being sexy because that has really shadowed our entire feminine spectrum of expression. Is to be empowered, you have to be constantly be sexy. I think women are just naturally sexy in a way, and so the sexualization of them, you can understand how it's easy. Not that it's meant to be easy or whatever, but it's just there are so many times that I have realized like that I'm being sexualized when I'm just being a woman. I'm just being a giddy girl. I'm just flowing. I'm just in some kind of essence. And then all of a sudden a man's hitting on me or turned on by me or I upset somebody over here. All right, like, and it's like fuck. So then you try to lean into it and then that you can't win. I think some of the parts of our modern culture with women's sexuality is that you can't win no matter what you try to do. Uh, but those are the stories behind that and kind of diving into my discernment, weighing of my scales, balance, all of the above. It's just me discovering what it means to be a sexually empowered woman in this creative space within all of these different expressions. Because I love corsets. I love the look of a good lingerie set. I think it's so fun. And honestly, I don't know why we can't be allowed to wear that just out and about randomly. I don't know why frilly girliness is so sexualized. Like, that was something I commented, like, there's all these, like, coquette, brands, and they have, like, cute little undies and, like, socks and all of these things, and people are like, "That's very little girl. It's pedophilic," and I don't understand why, like, femininity is hypersexualized to the point that as an adult woman, you just liking hyper feminine expressions like bows and lace becomes a sex symbol. Like, they've corrupted femininity's purpose to only be in the sexual lens when really it's just beauty. If you ask me, it's just beauty, it's just fun, it's freedom. And there is just I can't say beauty enough. It lace is beautiful, lingerie is beautiful, and I get why it's enticing to people, but I don't think that it should be trapped in this perspective of being uh for men's sexual pleasure. Because I just feel great in those outfits all on my own without a man fucking touching me. Without anybody touching me. It's not even like I don't want to turn anyone on. It's not even about sex. It's not about like masturbation or anything. It's literally about me just feeling fucking pretty. Look at me, lace and frills, and I'm just a woman. I'm just a girl. Like, that's what it feels like. And it feels really giddy. And then it gets ruined because then it gets sexualized. And then you feel like you have to conform it into a role. And it's like, oh, right, forgot. As a woman in lace, in like pretty frilly, sexy clothes, I have to fit a job now. And that's where, like, I feel like all women get trapped, no matter who you are, you get trapped in some realm of feeling like sex is work. And I think that's why a lot of women try to capitalize on it and become sex workers because you're working with sex no matter who you are, as long as you are a woman. And I think that that's really sad. But that's another complex, layered, nuanced discussion that I don't want to get too lost in the tangent about. So with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for yapping. And I hope you enjoy the tale behind the art of the Rouge and Living Dead Girl collection.